lovely people, my name is Emma and today I'm doing the odd book tag. So I wasn't tagged in this in particular, but it popped up on my like For You page recently and it just kind of looked like a fun collection of questions to have sort of a chill chatty vibe with you. So we're going to work our way through it today. The first question is, what is the oddest place you purchased a book from and was it a keeper? And the weirdest place I've ever purchased a book is actually the European Juggling Convention when it was being hosted in the UK. So for those of you who don't know, I have a bit of a circus background. I was a professional circus performer and instructor for 5 years, and the European Juggling Convention is one of the biggest juggling events slash circus events in general in the world. And when I was there, I went to a talk about the history of juggling, and a guy there called Tom Wall, who is an incredible gentleman juggler, please do check him out, has a book which is Juggling from Antiquity to Modern Day. I will link it down below, and yeah, it was quite a fun read. It's not the best microhistory I've ever read in the world. You could tell that he really isn't like an academic writer, and it was a little thin on the ground for resources, but there isn't actually much out there about the history of juggling, so it was a really interesting place to sort of start and to have a look at this world. And you know, typical of me to be able to go to a circus convention and still find a way to buy a book. The next question is, have you read a book in public that has had a title that could be interpreted in a different way and got strange looks? And yes, I do. I have a book called Aroused, which is about the history of hormones, how we discovered them and what they do in our body. It's a really interesting history of medicine book, but I was reading it in the staff room at one time and a mate of mine was like, what the hell are you reading? Is that just like straight up porn? And so I had to explain to her, no, it's not. And like, we work in a medical environment, so she really should have picked it up. But it's a very interesting book and definitely gets you a load of side eyes if you read it in public. The next question is, what strange and wonderful things have you found in used or new books? So I love it when you buy a secondhand book or get given a book secondhand and it has a little message in the front. A good number of my books are from charity shops, so they have the lovely little like happy birthday, saw this and thought of you. And hilariously, my mum and dad frequently lend me books that one of them will have bought the other one for birthday or Christmas, and they do tend to write little messages in the front. So I definitely have a bunch of books on my shelf that are like, saw this and thought of you from your loving husband, which are actually from my dad, which is a little bit weird, I guess, in some ways. But it's about sharing the love of reading. The next question is smelling a book weird to you or a normal part of book buying slash reading? Now, I'm not one of these people who like buries my nose in a book and inhales deeply. That I do find a little bit weird. You do you, boo, I guess, but like maybe in the comfort of your own home. But I do generally enjoy the smell of both new and used books and sort of the differences between them when you walk into a new bookstore and get that lovely like relaxing calming smell, but then when you walk into a used bookstore and it's like a little bit mustier and like hold secrets. But I'm not shoving my whole face in them, not gonna lie, that is a step too far for me. The next question is, do you have any odd or weird book buying, reading or collecting habits? I don't think I actually do for this one. I think I'm relatively normal when it comes to most readers. I dog ear my pages, which I know is a very divisive thing within the book community, so some might consider that weird. And I don't really mind spoilers, so I don't go out of my way to actively avoid them, so I guess some might consider that weird. But in terms of my actual book collecting, no, I think I have a relatively normal approach. I just have a lot of books, which if you're on BookTube is perfectly normal, but if you're not, I guess could be considered a bit weird. The next question is, what is the oddest comment you've received after telling someone you're a book collector or reader? So people often comment like, I just don't have the time, or I don't know how you do that, which like, we all just have hobbies and things that we prioritize, and there are plenty of things that other people do where I'm like, I don't know how you have the energy for that or the like ability to focus. Kudos to you. On BookTube in particular, the comment section can get quite funny. All of these, like I do get the odd negative comment, which I do tend to just hide. I did have somebody who once accused me of watching too much Simpsons, and clearly I was just a Lisa Simpson wannabe, and it was sad that I'd made reading my whole personality. That was quite funny. It took me a while to get the Simpsons reference. And then my favourite comment I think I've ever got on any of my YouTube videos, which I might have mentioned on this channel before, is I have quite a negative review of a book called Quiet by Susan Cain. I go off on one in that video, but I stand by all my comments. And that has got a decent amount of traction, probably the most like feistiness in the comments. And somebody once commented just saying, you are noisy, which was fucking hilarious. And I screenshotted it and sent it to my clinical coach from my course at the time. She was like, 100% agree with this rando, you are fucking noisy. And I was like, yeah, that tracks. So that one is still up there because that made me smile. The Lisa Simpson one I've like hidden. Then the next question is, describe a strange encounter at a bookstore, either as a bookseller or a customer. Oh my freaking god. Okay, I worked as a bookseller through my like teenage years, from like 16 to I think 19. It was like my weekend job at Waterstones, and holy shit, book customers are weird. So I worked in the Luton branch, which has since closed down, but definitely attracted some complete weirdos. One of our top selling books was the David Icke Lizard People conspiracy books. Yeah, that was really fun. So you'd have people coming in and asking about those. One guy repeatedly would come in and would request books on animals, but he would only use the Latin phrases for the animals. That was really annoying. Let's see what else. I had, when I worked in the Milton Keynes branch, I had a little old lady come in looking for like gay anime porn, because she'd found out that her like neighbor or new tenant in her house, or like some kind of vague connection, was gay, and she wanted to prove that she was supportive. So she was trying to find him some gay anime porn because she'd googled and thought that that's what he would like, as like a show of support that she wasn't homophobic. That one was really weird. So yeah, you do get some absolute characters in bookstores for definite. So those are the ones that stand out. We also did lock someone in a bookstore once because they were just curled up in the sci-fi section reading, and even though we did the like last call, I nearly said, but like shops closing in 5 minutes thing, they just didn't twig. So that was quite embarrassing. We were all about to walk away, and then there was just this like frantic pounding on the window. We're like, oh shit, that's a person. So yeah, so there's the fun shenanigans from being a bookseller, briefly. Question 8 is it weird to pass a bookshop when you're out and about and not enter? Look, if you got shit to do, we'll forgive you, but realistically, if you're out on a shopping spree, a little bit of a browsing, having a little fun knockabout town, you are morally obligated to go into a bookstore if you see it. Not every single one, but a shopping trip should feature at least one bookshop. I feel like that is the bare minimum. The reason why I say don't go into every single one is like Cambridge City Centre has a lot of bookshops, so that could be your entire day, which would be a fun version of like a pub crawl, I guess, but also could become quite time consuming, expensive. But minimum requirement is at least one bookshop. At least 30 minutes of browsing, I feel, is like morally obligated of every reader when just enjoying your day. If you're actually going somewhere, we will forgive you. And then question 9 is, are you drawn to weird or odd little dingy out of the way bookshops, or do you prefer a tidy shop? I feel like with most people on this kind of platform, it's both. Like, don't get me wrong, I do love a really structured, well organized, classic commercial bookshop, like your big chains, your Waterstones, your Heifers, your things like that, where you go in and you're just like, right, everything should be in its proper place, and I know exactly where I want to go, and I know how this is structured. But there is something so fun about those like cutesy little tiny tucked out of the way used bookstores where it's all a bit higgledy-piggledy and half the books are like facing the wrong way and you're like stumbling around, and kind of like a black books kind of energy. So for me, I really do think it's a 50-50. I probably end up spending more time in bigger commercial ones just because I think the little out of the way ones are harder to find, and I don't actually go around that much. I really don't travel that much very often. One of my favourite bookstores is Topping & Co in Edinburgh. Topping & Co in Ely as well, that is my local, and I absolutely adore them. But their Edinburgh branch in particular is like a massive converted house, and it was so weird because it was like really it was like the perfect blend of both those things, because it was really structured in terms of like, here are the different genres, and like non-fiction's over here and fiction's here, and this is the art room and this is the nature room. But because it was like a massive converted house, it was all just like corridors and rooms going off into other rooms, and then like random bits tucked in, like bay windows converted into shelves, and it was just quite like, you could easily get lost and it was quite difficult to find the section, but once you were in any given section, it was all very structured and organised. So for me, that was like a proper little sweet spot between the two. So if you're ever in the UK, Topping & Co independent bookstore in Bath, which I've never been to, Ely, my local, and Edinburgh, amazing little pilgrimage up there, is phenomenal. Definitely check them out. And then the final question is, books come in odd shapes and sizes. What is the oddest shaped book that you have come across? I don't really think I have any. When we were over in America, the whole deckled edges thing was like weird for me. That I think is very odd, and I don't get why you guys do that, because that's not a thing we have in the UK. So that would probably be the oddest shaped book, but I don't think I have anything on my shelf or seen anything out that's particularly truly weird. Most of my books seem to just be conventional rectangles, or cuboids, I guess technically. So humble apologies for that. So there we have it. That is the odd book tag. I'm going to tag some people down below, and I can't think of anybody right now because the second I do these tags my brain immediately blanks on every person I watch ever, so I'm just going to tag a few people. But even if you're not tagged, you can totally do this one. I wasn't tagged and the original will be down below, so do tell me what you think in the comments. Do you agree with what I've said? Do you have any really odd bookseller stories as like a bookseller or a customer? Those are always really fun. And yeah, what is the oddest thing you've ever found in a book? Have a wonderful reading week and I'll chat to you soon. Bye.